Breaking news, the Rams have traded their first-round pick in this year's draft, and what could go down as a franchise-altering move that could set the Rams up for a decade plus. Arch Manning, you are a Los Angeles Ram. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to an emergency episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor, subscribe to the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel. Join the party, trying to get to 17,000 subscribers. Lots of new viewers lately, so if you haven't subscribed yet, do so. And also drop your comments down below. What is your reaction to the Rams trading out of the first round in the 2025 NFL Draft? My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation, SI. Also do NFL radio for Westwood One. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, will be back tomorrow to break this down with me as well. But we have got to get right into it. The Los Angeles Rams. First, before we get into the trade they did make, let's talk about the trade they tried to make. The Los Angeles Rams, according to The Athletic's Diana Rossini, they were looking to trade up for Ted McMillan, the Arizona wide receiver. It did not happen. He ultimately ends up going 8th to the Carolina Panthers, and that's something that kind of set this whole thing in motion. The Rams clearly were looking for another playmaker. They were looking for someone that you could pair with Matthew Stafford and the rest of this offense, but it just did not happen. And look, that was a move that I think comes as a surprise to some, but McMillan, the best receiver in this draft, someone that could be the future at that position. You pair him alongside Puka Nacua. If Devontae Adams has gone after this year and Tutu Atwell is as well, it made a lot of sense. And then you give Stafford another weapon, but that did not happen. And then Colston Loveland, he ends up going higher than many expected, including myself. He goes 10th to the Chicago Bears. And then Tyler Warren, he goes 14th to the Indianapolis Colts. So if they were looking for that dynamic wide receiver, they tried to get him. They didn't. Last year, they tried to trade up for Rome Odunze. Weren't able to pull it off. This year, their tight ends they're interested in, they weren't able to fall to them, and the Rams just did not acquire them via the draft. So they did the next best thing. They looked at the players that were available. They looked at where they were drafting, and they said, let's load up for next season. We feel good about the quality of this draft enough that we can get quality in the later rounds. And the Rams ultimately end up trading their 2025 first-round pick at number 26, their 2025 third-round pick, and in exchange, the Rams get a 2025 second-round pick number 46, and a 2026 first-round pick, and a 2025 seventh-round pick. So the Falcons, they trade up. They ultimately get Jalen Walker from Georgia, defensive tackle, and they give the Rams the first-round pick for next season. And the Falcons, their season could go a lot of different ways. You got a lot of more talent down there. You got Raheem Morris. They could finish with a top 10 pick. They could finish at 26th. And I'll tell you right now, if you're looking at next season, Rams fans, you got to make sure that you're rooting for the Rams and whoever the Atlanta Falcons are playing. So if you want that rooting guide, that's the first thing you need to look at. And another thing you need to look at is if you're not a college football fan, you probably should start to become one. And your team, if you don't have one, should be the Texas Longhorns. And the quarterback you should be watching is Arch Manning. Arch Manning, he is universally considered to be the consensus best quarterback. The consensus best quarterback that's going to be available next year. And you got the Manning on his back. You got the pedigree. You got the athleticism of 4.6 40, someone that can make all the throws. And yes, it's been limited, right? I mean, you probably tell yourself, wait, 95 95 pass attempts. Why is there so much hype around Arch Manning? It's because of the physical tools. It's because of the flashes that he's had. And Les Snead has already said, hey, if you can get a athletic quarterback, and Arch Manning isn't Lamar Jackson, but he would be one of the more athletic quarterbacks in the NFL from day one. So if you can get an athletic running quarterback, it is like a cheat code. So Les Snead has already showed his cards a little bit in that the successor to Matthew Stafford, you're going to look at him as a athletic QB, someone that can get yards on the ground, someone that brings that dynamic to an offense. And I find it interesting because a couple of months ago, Les Snead, he was at the Texas Longhorns Pro Day, and he was mixing and mingling with the Texas team. He was spotted and photographed talking to Arch Manning, and he was down there looking at other guys, and sure, but Les Snead, he knows what he's doing. This guy is playing 4D chess, and what this move is all about, 100% in my eyes, is he is loading up that war chest to get into the Arch Manning sweepstakes. And the beautiful thing about this is not a, tank for Arch Manning situation. No, this is not that at all. The beautiful thing about the 2025 season for Rams fans is, hey, you're going to make a run to the Super Bowl. You're going to be one of the contenders in the NFC with the current roster you have, but you're also a team that is not afraid to trade up for a franchise quarterback like they did in 2016 for Jared Goff. And now the Rams, you have 2 first-round picks in 2026. That's already hilarious because the Rams are the team that they always seems like they forfeit their first-round picks. Look, if you're not named Jared, you're probably not going to be picked in the first round by the Rams, Jared Goff and Jared Verse. But that could change next year with Arch Manning. Now, he still has to earn it. He still has to live up to the hype. And I still think that that's certainly a valid question. You don't want to anoint a guy and say he's going to be that guy before you've seen it on the field. But the reason why it was Quinn Ewers down in Texas last season was for the simple fact that Texas team, just look at the draft they had today with Kelvin Banks, with Jahdae Barron, with Matthew Golden. That team was stockpiled with future NFL talent, and they were ready to win. So Steve Sarkisian, he went with the veteran quarterback, he went with loyalty, and he went with the win-now piece. And you still had Arch Manning going in there in certain packages and situations. He came in the Ohio State series, series against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl, and gets a big first down on the ground. Almost fumbled there, may have fumbled there, but didn't get overturned. And that is the kind of dynamic that he brings. And then don't kid yourself. I mean, the name on the back, the Manning. Imagine Arch Manning in a Rams uniform, the hype that would have, how big that would be for the franchise. So I think you look at now where they're at, and them loading up on picks and putting themselves in a position that, look, and Drew Aller out of Penn State's another guy. I mean, doesn't necessarily have to be Arch Manning, but the truth is the quarterback quality in next year's draft is superior to the quarterback quality that was available in this draft. Jador Sanders didn't get picked. Jackson Dart, he goes later. The Giants trade up for him. Cam Ward was really that guy that has that potential to be a star. But outside of that, not a lot of guys with a high, all-pro level ceiling. Arch Manning does, though. And we'll spend plenty of time breaking him down as a prospect and just kind of what we see on film with him. And there's no guarantees, but just kind of fun to think about in the offseason. But you just look at the cost of getting a quarterback in the first round. And it doesn't always work out. There's a team up north, San Francisco, the 49ers. They gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, and it did not work out. So that really is the Godfather offer. That is I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. I'm a reasonable man. The Godfather offer is multiple first-round picks, 3 first-round picks. Just looking at recent history, the Rams have been involved in 2 of the biggest ones that we've seen in the last decade plus, starting with in 2012 when the Washington, now known as the Commanders, they gave up an absolute haul, a king's ransom to acquire Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of Baylor, RG3, Robert Griffin III. The St. Louis Rams, they got the number 6 pick, a 2012 second rounder, a 2013 first rounder, and a 2014 first rounder. So using that was a major haul. Fortunately, it's Nightmare Field. I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, the Rams didn't make the most of that draft capital. But you also jump ahead to 2016 when the Rams trade up to get Jared Goff out of Cal. Tennessee, they got from the Rams the 15th overall pick. They got 2 2016 second-round picks, a 2016 third-round pick, a 2017 first-round pick, and a 2017 third-round pick. So the cost of Arch Manning potentially, you're talking about the 2026 first-round pick, and hopefully everything goes right for the Rams, and you're picking at the very worst somewhere in the early 20s. Hopefully it's in the early to late 30s. But if it's a high pick, things did not go right. But it's going to be your first-round pick, and then you have the other first-round pick from the Falcons, and we don't know what kind of season they're going to have. Definitely have a lot of talent, the potential to have a good year down in Atlanta. But you're looking at 2 of those first-round picks, and then they got a 2027 first-round pick. You could move forward and give them the 2028 first-round pick instead of the 2027 first-round pick. You can keep your first-round pick for next year. I mean, either way, you're going to have to give up 3 first-round picks, whether it's 2 in 2026, a 27 and a 28, or a 26, a 27 and a 28, and then you mix in a 2027 second-round pick and a 2028 third or fourth-round pick, something in that range. That is what it's going to cost. So that's clearly, to me, what they're doing. We've talked about this as a possibility on an episode months ago. How do you get Arch Manning? And this was the path to that, was if you're going to have a Super Bowl run, the way to still get to where you need to go from a capital standpoint, from a draft capital standpoint, is you got to make trades, and the Rams did just that. So I love this because the Rams were fluid. I love this because the Rams, it wasn't their plan A. No, clearly their plan A was to trade up and get Ted McMillan. But when that did not materialize, it wasn't, oh, then let's just get the best player at that position. Oh, let's just settle for less, right? Let's settle for another player at a position of need that we think can help us this year. No, it was, we understand that after a certain group of guys are gone, that there's not that big of a jump from the guys that are available in the 40 range to the late 20s range based on what they're at, and also just the opportunity of being able to go up the way they did and have draft capital for next year. I think this was a fantastic move, an opportunistic move, and it's extremely exciting. Like I said, how many teams out there get to watch their team hopefully make a run to the Super Bowl while also monitoring the potential first-round pick throughout the college football season, Arch Manning? And look, there's a lot of things that have to happen, right? This is not some guarantee that it's going to happen, right? When I said in the cold opening, Arch Manning, you are a Los Angeles Ram, that was tongue-in-cheek, right? I'm having fun with this thing, but Les Snead knows what he's doing. And one thing we know about the Rams, too, is I think you use the Jared Goff situation as a way to provide a North Star for the future, right? And you want to tread lightly when it comes to getting good to great quarterbacks. And Jared Goff is the perfect example of a quarterback that was really, really good, that still is really, really good, that still is top 10-ish, however you like to slice it. But he wasn't good enough to get to the mountaintop, to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. The Rams realized they needed an elite quarterback, a transcendent arm, a Hall of Fame arm. Jared Goff isn't a Hall of Famer. Matthew Stafford is. Jared Goff doesn't have a generational arm. Matthew Stafford does. I think the Rams, and I've been saying it on this show for weeks, I just never felt like the Rams would fall in love with any of these quarterbacks. If they felt like Jador Sanders, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Shuck, McCord, and these guys out there I mean, if they thought that they could go out there and perform, Will Howard, if they thought they had that kind of potential, I guarantee you the Rams wouldn't have been afraid to say, okay, we're going to take him. Matthew Stafford, sorry, you got to go out there and perform. And if you want to take this guy under your wings, that's great. If not, we got to start thinking about our future. But I just think from a talent standpoint and just from a it factor, right? The je ne sais quoi, the charisma of it all, the star power. The Rams know by having Matthew Stafford what a superstar talent quarterback looks like, and they didn't see that in any of the guys that were available that were attainable for them. So they did the next best thing, and they put themselves in a position to really kind of almost put some money in the bank and be able to cash it on that next season in what could be an exciting transition. And hopefully Matthew Stafford plays 2 more years. They win a Super Bowl. Everything's great. But you can't ignore the future if you're the Rams. You can't do that, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, we've talked about that on this show a couple different times. Is just there is no what the Rams were able to pull off for Matthew Stafford, that was a fluke. That was the exception. That's not something that you're going to see happen a lot, right? That just does not happen. Typically in free agency, you don't see that level of quarterback. It's rare to pull off trades. I mean, look at the free agents. Look at the free agents this season. I mean, the last couple years. Let's take a look at Derek Carr, Jacoby Brissett, Sam Darnold multiple times, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mitch Trubisky, Jameis Winston 3 times, Cam Newton, Andy Dalton a couple times, Tyrod Taylor. So it's either guys that are past their prime, guys that careers have significantly regressed, or guys that are just journeymen. None of those dudes are dudes that look or feel like a Rams quarterback, right? Superstars. But look at the ones that just never come close to becoming available. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Michael Penix Jr. has potential. Jordan Love has shown flashes. Jaden Daniels. I mean, all these guys, you got to get them in the draft. And now the Rams, they have filled that war chest up. They're going to go out there and compete this year, but they've got their eyes on the future. That's how you build a sustainable winner. So I love this move. I could not, 10 out of 10 for me. It really is, because you couldn't get what you wanted, but you didn't settle. You did not settle. You didn't panic. And I think you made the best move for what you could have gotten at that moment. So Arch Manning season, the Arch Manning sweepstakes has begun, and the Rams are fully in them. And it's going to be an exciting year for the Rams, because you're not rooting for a tank. You're rooting for a championship, but you're also paying close attention to the Falcons and the Longhorns and other quarterbacks at the collegiate ranks. And here's the other thing, too. Look, a first-round pick is just valuable, right? I mean, we saw a couple years ago when the Rams were still trying to go all in with that group, and they were going after Christian McCaffrey. If the Rams feel like they're a piece away, they have more ammo to make a trade during the season. If they want to add a guy that they think can be the missing piece of the puzzle, take them over the top, or if you have an injury and you want to fill in a guy in a certain role, depending on how you view your roster, how much success you've had. So just having first-round picks is a way to get top-level talent, and now they have more of that. That's going to do it for this emergency episode of Locked On Rams. We are going to break it down tomorrow, too, so be on the lookout for that. But let me know down below in the comment section, what is your reaction to the Rams trading out of the first round? And do you think that it's a clear indicator that they're all in on the quarterback class of 2025? Let me know down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.